Hello, and welcome back to the Coding Hub. In today's video, we will have a look at Git Branching Strategies. For this particular demo, we will be looking at Bitbucket, but these sort of tips and tools that you can use are available in pretty much all the major Git management applications, so Bitbucket, GitHub, Microsoft Azure DevOps, and I'm sure others as well, but those are the ones I use the most often. So when you're starting off building a project, you need to have a branching strategy in mind. Every team tends to have their own strategy in mind, and what is probably the most important thing is to have that strategy confirmed with the rest of the team, so making sure that everyone complies with it and making sure that everyone agrees with it and they follow it, because that is the most important thing. So stuff like naming of your branches and pull requests and stuff like that need to be set out. In the newer versions of Bitbucket and Azure DevOps, you can create very precise rules on how you want pull requests to be created and how you want some of your main branches to be managed. But in the past, all of this was kind of done a bit more, based on trust of your developers, and there's still that element there, but a lot of that has now gone, especially depending on the platform that you're using. But for Bitbucket in particular, what we'll have a look at is maybe something typical that you might see in your project. So I have created here a branching strategy project, and it doesn't really matter what the project is or what code, what programming language it's running, but what you'll normally have is, this is probably more relevant to web applications than desktop applications or anything else. But what you'll normally have is you'll have a development environment, a QA environment where maybe this is where the user tests and where you do your demos, and then you have your master branch, which is essentially the main branch of your application. So what you normally want to do is have at least one branch per environment. So let's say you only have two environments, a staging and a master, then you have a staging branch and a master branch. The reason for that is when you then go to link this to your pipelines, it makes it very easy. So what you want to do is have your main branches that those are the branches that will get deployed once something's merged into them. They will get deployed onto their corresponding environment. So in a typical example, you have 3 environments, but you could have more, you could have less. It really depends on what your needs are, what your budgets are, and so on. So it doesn't really matter as long as you make sure you have a branch that is the branch that gets compiled and deployed onto that environment. And you see how this links into your pipeline. So if we go here to pipelines, we'll see that we have a pipeline for our development branch, we have a pipeline for our QA and a branch and a pipeline for our master branch, and those then get built. Now, what you might also want to do is have a branching strategy in mind for when you create feature branches. So depending on what your way of working is, whether it's waterfall or agile, you might want to take this in slightly different ways. For example, if you're working waterfall, you might want to create feature branches which you merge into your development branch, for example, and then that would then get deployed into development. Now, once you create all your feature branches and you merge them all into development, then you might say, okay, we're happy with this, we've tested it, we want to deploy all of those features to QA. Now that is the more waterfall way of working. The reason for that is you normally do these kind of big deployments of new features, and it's essentially like a big new version deploy. It's a bit more waterfall. Again, a lot of agile teams work in this way as well. But if you do want to work in a very agile way with your branching strategy, what I would recommend is to actually create your feature branches from master, so the main production branch, and work on your feature and then deploy it into create a pull request and get it deployed into, for example, the development environment, where maybe that's internal tests for yourself and other developers and QA testers. That's where they test it. Once all your quality gates are passed, you then might want to create a separate pull request with the same branch, so not development to QA, but your feature branch to QA, to deploy that feature onto QA for maybe your users to start testing, your beta users or your stakeholders, whatever you might have. Once they are happy with that feature and the quality gates there pass, then you can create a pull request from your feature branch to your master branch in order to deploy that feature to master. The idea behind this and why it's more agile than creating pull requests from development to QA and then from QA to master, the reason why that is a more agile way of working is because you're just deploying features as soon as they're done, and you can end up with multiple deployments to any of these environments per day, whereas something like development to QA and then QA to master feels a little bit more like a process that you need to follow, and it kind of encourages you to follow that step-by-step process of deploying all these features to a particular branch, which can be seen as more waterfall. It's not necessarily the case. I've seen a lot of teams work in this particular way, but it's just something to take into account when working with Git. So I hope all of these tips helped you with your Git branching strategy. I hope to see you in the next video. Please like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.